Imagine one late night, you hear someone knocking at your door. When you open it without a second thought, you see two children standing there. Their eyes completely black. No whites, no pupils, just bottomless voids. Expressionless, they say to you, "Let us in. We need to use your phone." Would you invite them in? It sounds like something straight out of a horror movie, but since the 1990s, people across Europe and the United States have claimed to encounter these black-eyed children showing up at their doors late at night. These children always appear harmless at first glance, but there's something off. They only come around after dark, act strangely, and have those entirely black eyes that resemble dark, endless holes. Their gaze feels supernatural, as if whatever's behind those eyes doesn't belong to this world, leaving those who see them deeply unsettled. What's even stranger is that those who've had close encounters with these children often end up suffering misfortune afterward. Sudden illness, family tragedies, even car accidents. Stories like these spread quickly through American online forums, turning the black-eyed children into a hot topic within paranormal circles. Many users, struck by their eerie appearance and nighttime behavior, easily concluded that these were ghosts wandering in the dark. But labeling them as just ghosts doesn't fully explain everything. Unlike traditional spirits, black-eyed children don't appear as spectral forms. They seem physical. They stand right in front of you, speak clearly, and even politely ask permission to enter your home, which is exactly where things get more disturbing. It seems they must receive an invitation from the resident before they can step inside, as though bound by some ancient rule. This creates a fascinating contradiction. They have ghost-like traits, appearing at night, stirring deep fear and unease, yet also display human qualities like physical presence, audible speech, and logical interaction. It's this ambiguity that makes it impossible to easily categorize them. Even more unsettling is that unseen rule. They seem to require the homeowner's invitation to cross the threshold. Whether they are asking to use the phone or requesting a ride home, they never force their way in. They insist on waiting for consent. This restriction feels like an invisible bind, almost as if an ancient contract governs their behavior. Sound familiar? It's hard not to be reminded of vampire legends from Western folklore. In countless European and American tales, vampires cannot enter a human dwelling unless invited. Could black-eyed children be a modern variation of the vampire myth? Based on this, some speculate that the legend of the black-eyed children may be a modern adaptation of ancient vampire mythology. As times have changed, vampires no longer satisfy people's thirst for fear, while the appearance of black-eyed children as youngsters both subverts conventional notions of innocence and preserves the vampire's mysterious rule of requiring an invitation. They seem like derivatives of ancient legends evolving in the information age, carrying old fears into the present in a new form. In other words, these black-eyed children are more than just ghosts or mere substitutes for vampires. They are the embodiment of taboo. They stand outside your door, waiting for you to make a choice. Once you invite them in, they enter your world, and you may never return to the reality you once knew. The earliest documented case of black-eyed children dates back to the spring of 1996. That night, Brian, a journalist from Abilene, Texas, was driving to a local internet service provider's office to pay a bill before midnight. The night was quiet, lit by dim streetlights. Brian parked his car in a lot near a movie theater and began writing a check. Suddenly, someone knocked on his window. When he looked up, he saw two children around 10 years old standing outside. Under normal circumstances, this wouldn't be strange. Kids often played around the theater. But it was late at night and the area was almost completely deserted, which made Brian uneasy. He scanned his surroundings and confirmed there were only two children. Both wore ordinary hoodies and had cold, expressionless faces without a trace of a smile. In an unnervingly calm tone, they said, "Sir, we want to see a movie, but we forgot our money. Can we get in your car? Just take us home to get some cash. We'll be back really soon." At first, Brian didn't sense anything unusual and almost instinctively agreed to let them in. But the moment he made eye contact with them, he froze. Their eyes were completely black. No whites, no pupils, just like light-devouring black holes, cold and hollow. A sudden, unexplainable fear surged through him, and his fingers trembled uncontrollably. He later described the feeling as more intense than facing a venomous snake in the desert at night. It wasn't ordinary fear. It was a deep instinctual warning. These children must not be allowed near. The children seemed to sense Brian's hesitation and grew more urgent, repeatedly insisting, "We're not bad people, let us in." Yet the more they spoke, the more Brian felt chills down his spine. Though their voices sounded calm, there was a mechanical coldness to them, utterly unlike real children asking for help. Finally, Brian snapped back to reality, started the car almost instinctively, and sped away. As he drove off, he caught a glimpse in the rearview mirror of the two children still standing motionless, their black eyes fixed intently on him. For years afterward, Brian repeatedly shared this experience in interviews, podcasts, and lectures. He insisted it wasn't a hallucination or a trick of the light, but a real bizarre encounter. He even described the children as giving off a soul-sucking emptiness. More unsettlingly, for weeks after the incident, Brian suffered recurring nightmares, where those same black eyes stared relentlessly back at him. Soon, the story caused a sensation in American paranormal circles. It's worth noting that the 1990s marked the gradual rise of the internet, and Brian's account quickly spread across forums and email lists. Before long, more people came forward claiming similar experiences. Some said they encountered black-eyed children at highway rest stops. Others answered late-night knocks only to be met with those same pitch-black eyes. The accounts echoed one another with details that matched to an eerie degree. Over time, the black-eyed children evolved from Brian's personal strange encounter into a kind of collective memory. Each new sighting added fuel to the fire, making the legend grow stronger. Some began to see them as urban folklore. Others believed they were manifestations of lost spirits, and some even suspected they were the product of some hidden gene-editing experiment. Too controversial to be revealed. This speculation isn't entirely groundless. The children's solid black eyes could be the result of a genetic defect that deformed their irises and sclera, creating that unnatural pitch-black appearance. As for their cold, robotic behavior, it might come from being raised in isolated experimental conditions, cut off from emotional development and social interaction, leaving them with only instinct and programmed responses. Supporters of the experiment theory even point to real evidence. Back in the 1980s, there were multiple reports across the U.S. of unidentified children wandering rural areas. When police arrived, these kids showed a calmness that was completely out of place. They didn't cry or act lost or scared like normal children. Instead, they answered questions in an almost mechanical way. For example, in a 1983 police report from Tennessee, an officer wrote, "The child refused to give a name, only repeating, 'I'm waiting for someone.' When we tried to bring him to the patrol car, he resisted intensely and seemed unusually reluctant to even approach the vehicle. This led some to suspect these children had no legal identity, perhaps born off the books or even artificially created. But this theory runs into a major problem. If the black-eyed children are just failed experiments, why do so many witnesses describe a supernatural presence around them? Science might explain genetic mutations, but it can't easily account for the overwhelming sense of dread, the sudden chills, or the heart palpitations people feel in their presence. Even stranger, they're never seen during the day, only showing up at night in remote areas, knocking on lonely doors, as if following some non-human rules. This has led to more extreme theories, like the idea that black-eyed children could be early prototypes of human-machine hybrids. During the Cold War, advances in artificial intelligence and cybernetics inspired some researchers to explore electronic implants or neural modifications to create cyborg-like beings. The children's emotionless manner, lack of empathy, and repetitive speech fit right into this narrative. They might not be entirely biological, but human-like containers built in labs to test forms of mind control or perceptual manipulation. But all speculation stops here. To this day, there's no solid evidence that any government, military, or scientific organization ever created black-eyed children. The stories remain at the level of rumor, eyewitness accounts, and strange coincidence. And yet, it's exactly this ambiguity that allows the legend to thrive.